Hi, it's Sandy, and it's time for the new moon rose reading for the end of June 2017. And these timings come round so quickly. It seems that it's a blink of an eye before we're round to yet another rose reading. And this is a new moon in Cancer, and very much feeling that it's a very deep, emotional, personal new moon, and bringing us really into a place of engaging and going deep in any of the issues that are being pushed up for us at this point. So, this place where we come into a place of contraction, I've noticed this myself so many times in the last few weeks and months, that there is this tightening sensation that occurs before there is a release that opens out. And this time, is right on the back of the solstice, and I know many experienced a real sense of movement and lightening and transformation as we went through the solstice energies. And here we are, we're into this new moon in Cancer. And as I say, it really feels that it's deep. I've got many clients that I'm working with that are really working with deep personal, emotional issues that have really, have often got roots and connections right back into childhood issues that have now come to this place where, there is this opportunity for a final release of this part of the spiral. And this is a tightening and a release process. I always feel this with a new moon. The moon is not illuminated when we come into this new moon. She's in a dark phase. She is coming, calling us to really take this time and move within, and from that point expand once more out to her fullness. But I've been sort of exploring this whole place in which the moon is not visible to us unless she is illuminated by the sun. Now, we describe these two different polarities as masculine, feminine. The feminine moon and the masculine solar energy. So what is this place in which the moon, the feminine, is not illuminated unless there is an external masculine light force? What I do feel is that as we come into this darkening of the moon point, there is a couple of days really before the sun shines on the face of the moon again. And so we can often find ourselves in this sort of in this very much darker, quiet place until we get 2 or 3 days beyond this new moon, and then we start to get the clarity of the insight and the message that is carried on this particular new moon. So these are fascinating times that we're in. I have found that certainly in my journey over the last 2 weeks, there is an absolute need to keep fluid, to keep very open to changing energies and changing callings. So, even things that we have had booked and organised. We have to be absolutely in the moment to be really clear about whether there is still a clear pathway to the event or the arrangement that we thought we had agreed to. One interesting little story that I'll share is that as many of you that follow me on my personal page on Facebook, I went off to do a consult because I work with houses as well. And I went off to do a consult in France. And the client picked me up on the Wednesday morning early so that we could drive and get to the Channel Tunnel. And we did really good time. We did the whole journey in about 3 hours, which was pretty good from here in the New Forest. And just as we got to the last junction before the tunnel, her car got sick. We were talking and she just said, there's something wrong with the car. The car is not firing on all cylinders. It was juddering and I was obviously not very happy. So we'd done this 3-hour journey and we'd got to the last junction before we got on the tunnel. So we were going on the tunnel and then we had another 3 hours to drive on the other side. But her car went, oh no, we're not going there. And so we ended up finding a garage, and the first repair didn't work. The second repair didn't work. And then they had, because it was a French car, they had to send further away for the parts. And by that time, we decided to go and find ourselves, a coffee shop to go and sit in rather than this garage waiting area. And as we did that, I thought, this has got a message. And so what we did was we sat down and I started to tune in to the bigger picture of what was unfolding. And the upshot of it was that there were really, really clear messages about the client's connection with her house in France. And what it was saying was that there was work and process to be done before we went to the house itself and did the next phase of the work. So after a 3-hour drive and 4 hours of sitting at the garage, it was really clear that at this point we were not meant to continue the journey. And it was just so fascinating, this process. I have never, in nearly 17 years now of working with clients and their houses, I've never had a situation where this occurred. So every job I do is different, and everybody's soul connection with their home has a different unfolding. So the third go round, of course, by the time we got back, the car was fixed, and we got back in the car again and drove three hours back here. And we had easy journeys both ways, even though it was the M25. So, this is about really having clear vision and a clear connection to what is unfolding, what the story is, the deeper story here. And it's not about kicking doors down and making something happen. It's about stepping back when something doesn't work, when something that you have set in motion is not flowing in the way that you thought it was going to. Look at the bigger picture and stand back, see what the symbology is. Because clearly, like for my client and myself, as we got to the tunnel, her car acted as proxy. Her car stopped us and it wasn't firing on all cylinders. So, looking at the story and what the underlying message was with that meant that the next level of what needed to be understood was able to come to the surface and shift the process into a much, much deeper level of what her soul connection was with the story of the house. And we'd have got it had we gone over there, but there would have been complications. So just fascinating, just fascinating. And actually, we've just rescheduled, and we're going back again for the second phase. So anyway, I'm sharing this story because it is so essential that we keep in the moment and that we allow for what needs to be unfolded to reveal itself. And don't think just because we've decided to do something that is right. And I've had exactly the same thing that's happened in this last couple of days with an event that I'd booked in Glastonbury. And I realised that the alignment for it, for me, the energy wasn't right, and that I was perhaps putting it there with in not the right timing. So in all humility, I've had to turn around and go, actually, this is I just didn't get this the right timing. I didn't do this in the right alignment. And so, it was booked back in December. We've been on such a fast forward from there to here that the alignment we has to be in the moment. So, without further ado, and thank you, BB's on the call, Hannah's on the call, Rachel, Ashley, Vicky, I think, and Evelyn. So welcome everybody. So lovely that you're here. And yeah, are you drawn to Rose Card 1? Are you drawn to Rose Card 2? Or are you drawn to Rose Card 3? So just see which one lights up with you, which one has a bit of a buzz to it. So here we go. So Rose Card 1, if you chose her, is Rose Ma 8. Now, I don't think that Rose Ma 8 has come up in any of the readings that we've had so far. So what I've recognised with the reading today, it's really about another message that this particular new moon is calling for. So this one is Rose Ma 8, so Rose Ma, the mother of the rose. So this was one of the last sets that came together, and they are the qualities of the awakened and empowered feminine. So this rose says, I am creative. So this is a heart quality of the feminine heart field in both men and women. It's not gender specific. So she says, I am creative. Now, if you look at this rose, she's actually a David Austin rose, and she's called the Lark Ascending. And she's absolutely beautiful, and you can see these sort of curls in her centre. So these curls around the heart. Now, she's saying, if you drew Rose Card 1, she is saying, is there something new here in your creative expression that is waiting to be birthed? Is there something that's calling you? Perhaps something that you've done back in the past, because this is a Cancer new moon. Is this something that you're bringing back that you've not engaged with of recent times? And our creative essence has lots of different aspects to it. Lots of different ways in which we express our creativity. Do you bake cakes? Do you paint? Do you do creative writing? All of these different aspects of us as women. For me, the last few days, I've found myself really drawn. I have a tendency with clothes, because I was a couture wedding dress designer for 18 years. I made hundreds and hundreds of dresses. If I have something that I love the fabric of, I have a tendency to change it so that it's a Mark 1 version of it and a Mark 2 version of it. And I've been really tempted in these last few days to remodel some of my clothes rather than throw them out or buy something new. So, you know, it's something that I really love. I love creating not exactly something out of nothing, but something that is exciting and different for me out of something that I've loved. And so, you know, what is she calling you to? What is she saying, you know, to reconnect with or to take to another level? Or perhaps there's an aspect of your creativity that you don't honour, you know, you don't value that particular aspect of your expression. So this rose, you know, our creativity comes from that base second chakra. It comes from deep into that place of, you know, the base chakra being the tribe. This is like the DNA of the land and the genetics of the family that you birth into, and all of their subtle little ways that they shared with you as in your childhood, perhaps. But once we move up into that sacral chakra, that holds all of our sense of our self-value, self-esteem, self-love, our sense of ourselves as women, our sense of our sexuality, and our sense of abundance, our ability to hold money. But it's also that fount of our creativity, our procreativity, obviously, but also that expression of ourselves that is in truth the core of who we are. You know, when we are in creative mode, it's an expression from the inside out. So this is what she's calling us to. And also, you know, that the throat is the higher octave of the sacral chakra. So again, it could be in singing, it could be chant, it could be in poetry. But here she is. She is Rosemar 8, and she is calling you, if you chose Rose Card 1, she's calling you to this next piece of your creative expression. What does that look like? You know, and she's like, have some fun with it. This is not ordered. This is, you know, allow things to get messy. So there she is. If you chose Rose Card 2, she is Rosemar 4. Rachel's written, but I can't read it. I have to put glasses on. Doesn't make any difference if the phone's bigger. The writing's still small. Yes, Vicky, I can see that. Number 2. So number 2 is Rosemar 4, and she says, I am nurturer. Now, she calls us to really do some self-care. You know, what is the way in which you can really nurture and nourish yourself at the deepest level? Because we know if our cup is not full first, there is nothing that we can give. We cannot give from an empty cup without causing damage to ourselves. And, you know, there is no value in that. There's no value in weakening and diminishing ourselves, because there is then, we're not a resource for others. We're not a resource for ourselves at that point. So she says, you know, what are the ways that you nurture and nourish yourself? Is that by buying and eating good food? Is that by a yoga class? Is that by having me time? Is that by gifting yourself time to read? You know, find and track out those places in which you can make some time to make sure that you are nurtured. It might be, you know, girlfriend time. It might be having an evening out with your soul sisters. But she says, you know, this is really has to be a priority. We have to know. Thank you, Ashley. yeah, this is really knowing ourselves. I mean, it is said, isn't it, to know thyself and to thine own self be true. So we have to know, and we have to find a voice for that. You know, I'm fortunate in the fact that you know, at the moment I live on my own, so I don't have to take into account anybody else apart from Kit and Max, my cats. But you know, when you have a partner, when you have children, or family members that you care for, or you've got, you know, that make demands on your time, you have to make sure, even more so, that you find me time to actually come into that sense of being nurtured self. But then that requires us to know what nurtures us, you know, in the first place, what is it that lights us up? What is it that is soul food for us in whatever way? So yeah, here she is, Rose Mar 4, and this is Rose card 2. And if you chose Rose card 3, she's another Rose Mar. Actually, all 3 of the roses tonight have been Rose Mar roses. And these are the qualities of the awakened and empowered feminine. These are the qualities of the heart, really, that, you know, that we hold and treasure on our hearts. And these are the qualities that we can then give to another. So this is Rose Mar 7, and she says, I am receptive. Now, how often do we find ourselves just in giving mode? Oh, I've got a cat that's just joined me. You know, we're very good. We're programmed, especially as women, to give. You know, we are, yeah, it's of our essence, to our children, to our partners, to community. Sorry, I'm just going to have a cat that's going to walk past the screen. Sorry, you're going to end up tail with tail. But she says, remember that giving and receiving has to come in balance. Bless. That giving and receiving has to come in balance. You know, we have, this feels to be quite a strong message, actually, in this particular reading, that coming, excuse me, I'm just going to remove the cat. Thank you, Max. But you know, and you can see, you know, actually she's quite yoni shaped. You know, she says, you know, the feminine is programmed to receive, whether, you know, receive the masculine, if we're looking at it from a sexual point of view, you know, and how we bring that energy up and move into a powerful place on the heart chakra. You know, for us as women, the heart is our place of power, this heart solar plexus, and this is our place of warrior energy. So it's really essential that we have that place in which we give, but we also allow ourselves to receive. Everything has to be in balance. She calls you to dive deep, you know, to dive deep into that reflective place of, you know, do you allow yourself to receive? You know, we talk about mantras, we talk about doing vision boards to bring in abundance and to manifest, you know, whatever it is that we want to experience in our journey here. But are you actually open to receive? If it arrived, are you willing to say, thank you, I am open to receive? And if not, what is it that blocks you? Again, we come back to self-value, self-love, self-value, self-esteem. Do you feel that you're worthy of receiving? So this rose actually brings up a lot of different aspects of our inner landscape on lots of levels, about our ability to receive. You know, do we have experiences from our past, from our childhood, from our teenage years, that create a defense, a block on receiving? It is absolutely essential that we, if we have blocks to receiving, that we are open to dismantling those blocks, disarming the blocks, finding out what the root is behind a feeling of unworthiness or an inability to receive that we feel more comfortable with giving. So, yes, so if you drew her, she's calling you to review, to look at, are there any blocks that you need to look at in your openness to receive abundance and nurturing and love on all levels. So, powerful group of roses. You know, this is a very interesting reading when we get all three roses from the Rose Ma set. I am creative. This is the essence of my beingness. And through that beingness, in embracing my essence, I express my doingness. So, powerful rose calling you to creative endeavours, to perhaps picking up something that you've used before but want to take it to another level, or to really explore something new that's perhaps been calling you for a while. Rose card 2, sorry, Rose Ma 4. I am nurturer. This place in which we know what nurtures us in order that we may be filled ourselves to be able to nurture others. And this Rose Ma 7, who is saying, and are you open to receive? So this is just a gorgeous, gorgeous set of roses that were taking us into this new moon, into this Cancer new moon, which has depth and emotion to it, which is taking us into this place of transformation, this place of coming home to ourselves. You know, Cancer's often seen as the sign of the home. You know, the crab carries his home on his body. So, you know, it's like, you know, this is the essence for me of the work that I do with people and their spaces, is to bring them home to themselves, to their soul connection, their connection to themselves and their soul or self-mastery this lifetime. So there we are, rose reading, and I hope that it's given you some insight and just another flavour of the roses. And what other news have I got? I'm just in the process of putting a Rose Retreat Day here at the Rosie Temple on the 22nd of July, which is the feast day of the Magdalene. And this will be about exploring the Magdalene within, how we embody the Magdalene in our essence as women. And that will be on the newsletter that comes out for those of you that see this recording on the newsletter, and also will be on the website over the weekend. And lots of other goodies that I'm incubating at the moment. So, as ever, with much love and rosy blessings. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Carol, for your presence and your lovely comments. And and Linda, I think, and Leah. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me. And yeah, I'm wishing you, a wonderful weekend, whatever you're doing. And until next, much love and rosy blessings. Bye for now. Bye.